I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. This Catholic university celebrates the beginning of a new year and a huge milestone for one priest.
It's always uplifting to me to see so many young people coming to church. And that's really what happens here. Our church is full.
Plus, nearly 1 in 6 Americans live in poverty. We'll show you how some people in New Jersey are trying to make it through a difficult time.
The government has a responsibility to be sympathetic to the plight of the poor and to the homeless, and to push them out is cruel.
And this priest answers another call. He's becoming a military chaplain.
You're out doing visits, it's just a great reward. They let you into their lives because they're searching. And what goes on out here is very real.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. St. John's University rolled out the red carpet in a big way today. This afternoon, the school held its opening mass to start off the new school year and welcome the incoming freshman class as they get their first taste of higher education. The school also took the opportunity to have a surprise celebration for one priest who's reached quite a milestone. Brooklyn's own Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio was the main celebrant, and we sent our cameras to St. Thomas More Church on the school's Queens campus.
Today is that we celebrate the Mass of the Holy Spirit. Normally at the beginning of each academic year we do invoke the Holy Spirit upon the learning and the teaching in the university, so today was the day when we celebrated that Eucharist.
St. John's is very proud of and firmly committed to its nature as a Catholic and Vincentian university. And so our tradition has always been that we begin the academic year with a Mass of the Holy Spirit, asking the Spirit to be with us and to strengthen us each year so that we can serve our students well and that they may do well in their studies.
St. John's is really one of the great assets of the Diocese of Brooklyn here in Queens. We have a wonderful Catholic university which exercises the Vincentian charism, which is the care of the poor and the education of those all in need.
I think it was a very good Mass. It was very nice. It's always uplifting to me to see so many young people coming to church. And that's really what happens here. Our church is full, which is wonderful.
This beginning of school Holy Spirit Mass has been happening for a number of years. The 3 years that I've been here, it's been going on. And just to be involved as a student leader myself, it really, I mean, it's a beautiful tradition that we love to keep up. Just being a Catholic school in general, we get a great foundation in our faith.
One of the things I miss the most being so far from home is my church community and my youth group. I want to be in a place that would help facilitate my growth in my faith. And St. John's was a Catholic university.
Father Goldbach turned 100 years of age on August the 16th. Over 50 years of his priesthood have been here at St. John's, and he continues twice a week to come over to church to take a turn hearing confessions. To me, that's incredible that a 100-year-old priest would continue to minister. Today we will confer upon Father Goldbach the highest honor we can give, the gold medal.
I was really shocked at what happened, the love that was shown, and I can assure everyone that I love them back. I will pray for them and ask God to reward them for the happiness that they gave me. When you get to be 100 years old, you leave a lot of people behind, and that is your parents, and that was your home, and with St. John's now has been my family.
I was just very thankful to the St. John's University community for all the assistance they give to the diocese in so many ways. We really counted them as our partners in this diocese.
We have received a wonderful legacy at St. John's. We're truly blessed with the legacy that's been passed on to us. We have to be faithful to that. Each one of us has to use our own gifts to make it ever stronger. And in addition to that, we can never forget that the Lord has sent us to do what we do. And what we really seek to do is to come to know God better in all of our work.
That is quite a milestone. Happy birthday there to Father Goldbach, and we wish all of the St. John's University students the best for the year ahead. Well, stay with us. There is more currents coming up. New York Catholics are urged to speak out against a new federal mandate. We'll have that story, plus the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up later, a priest who's flying high. We'll explain, but first let's have a look at the day's headlines. The New York State Catholic Conference is urging Catholics to speak out against the government's new mandate on contraception coverage. A new ruling by the Department of Health and Human Services requires most private health insurance plans to cover FDA-approved contraception and voluntary sterilization. The Catholic Conference says the ruling's religious exemption is, quote, extremely limited, and they also called the mandate an unprecedented attack on religious freedom. We posted some more information on our website, currentsny.net. The Department of Health and Human Services is taking public comments through September 30th. Well, this is a story that just will not go away. Another town clerk in New York is refusing to issue marriage licenses to anyone to avoid having to issue any to same-sex couples. James Gaddis has more.
Rosemarie Belforti is a 10-year town clerk, but lifelong Christian.
I take the Bible very seriously. For me, the Bible is the foundation of my own perception, so that is my truth.
And Rose perceives marriage as a sacred institution between a man and a woman. She recently informed the town board she was excluding herself from issuing marriage licenses to any couple, hetero or homosexual. The deputy clerk now handles those duties by appointment only. After hearing the news, Florida couple Katie Carmichael and Deirdre DiBiagio, who have a home in Cayuga and are looking to get married, put Rose to the test.
But I honestly thought that if Didi and I were standing in front of her, that there was just no way this woman was going to break the law and not do that. So I was very disappointed.
Friend Arthur Bellinzoni was with them.
That this is a nation in which we protect liberty and justice for all. And there's nothing in that speaks about liberty and justice for all except for gays and lesbians.
It's just blatant discrimination, and you can't hide behind a religious cloak on this. She took an oath of office. She has to perform her duties.
Supervisor Mark Jordan wouldn't go as far as to say he supports Rose's personal decision. In fact, he said he'd prefer if she handled all the duties a town clerk is, quote, supposed to. Still, he says she was elected by the people. It's her office, and for now, he and the town board are going to separate themselves and let her run it as she sees fit.
We do want to keep a diverse society. We want to respect each other. So, I'm not trying to break the law. I'm not trying to change it so that they can't get that. This is just a personal fight that I have to do for myself.
That report from James Gaddis. Well, a proposed multi-million-dollar condominium complex on the former site of St. Vincent's Hospital is a step closer to reality. People familiar with the matter tell the Wall Street Journal that Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of New York Mellon, and M&T Bank have made commitments totaling $525 million to build the complex. The plan now needs the approval of the City Council. St. Vincent's, you'll recall, was New York City's last Catholic hospital. It closed its doors April of 2010. Well, meanwhile, California's famed Crystal Cathedral, best known as the home of Reverend Robert Schuller's Hour of Power television broadcast, may soon be under new ownership. A judge is moving ahead with a bankruptcy reorganization plan that includes the sale of the cathedral. Among the bidders, the Catholic Diocese of Orange, which would use it as its cathedral rather than build a new one. Well, we all know the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, but students in Washington, D.C. will soon be tested on human sexuality. The test will be the first standardized exam in the nation on health and sex education. In addition to human sexuality, the exam will also test students' knowledge of contraception and drug use. Well, religious leaders of all faiths are rallying around the cause of a man on Georgia's death row. Troy Davis was convicted in 1991 of murdering a Georgia police officer. His advocates say many of the witnesses who provided testimony against Davis have changed their stories. Now, clergy are among those asking Georgia Governor Nathan Deal to grant Davis clemency. Meanwhile, attorneys for a Texas man scheduled for execution today are asking Governor Rick Perry to intervene. The attorneys say the inmate's race, he's African American, may have played a part in that sentencing. A psychologist told jurors that black criminals were more likely to pose a public threat if they were released. Since Perry took office in 2000, 234 people have been executed in Texas. That's something Perry touted during a Republican debate last week. Well, meanwhile, a new survey from the Public Religion Research Institute shows an overwhelming majority of Americans who identify as pro-life also support the death penalty. 67% of self-identified pro-lifers support the death penalty, while just 30% oppose. The numbers were similar, 69 to 27, on the issue of abortion. It was a, quote, sign from God. That is what Casey Anthony's mother is saying about her daughter's murder acquittal. Anthony was found not guilty of murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, who was last seen in June of 2008, but not reported missing until a month later. The girl's remains were found later not far from the family's home. In an interview with TV host Dr. Phil, Anthony's mother says the acquittal was a sign from God that Kaylee's death was an accident. In the interview, Cindy Anthony tells Dr. Phil that, quote, justice for Kaylee was when her mother walked. Well, meanwhile, religious broadcaster Pat Robertson, who is no stranger to making controversial statements, is in the news once again after telling viewers that divorcing a spouse with Alzheimer's disease is justifiable. A viewer asked Robertson what advice he should give to a friend who began seeing another woman after his wife started suffering from Alzheimer's. Calling the disease, quote, a kind of death, Robertson said the man should divorce his wife but make sure she has proper care. And it did not take long for Apple to yank this app. The company has removed the Jew or No Jew application from its French App Store. The app allowed users to access a database to determine whether a public figure or celebrity was Jewish. An anti-racism group said the app violated a French law that prohibits the compiling of people's personal information without their permission. Stay with us. There is much more currents ahead. Coming up, more Americans are living in poverty than ever before, and the people in this tent city in New Jersey are living proof.
You think of a homeless person, you think of some wino out in the corner, but it can happen to anyone at any time.
Welcome back. Well, it is a dismal statistic that you may have been hearing about all week. Nearly 1 in 6 Americans lives below the poverty line. That according to the latest numbers from the U.S. Census Bureau. Now, if you're wondering just exactly what the poverty line is, well, the poverty line is defined as an income of $22,000 for a family of 4, or just over $11,000 for a single person. If you find it difficult to imagine anyone surviving on the very edge of poverty, just imagine how much more challenging daily life must be when you live well below the federal government's bare minimum. Well, for dozens of homeless people in New Jersey who have lost their jobs and their homes, what so many of us can only imagine is their day-to-day reality. These men and women have fashioned new homes in a place they call Tent City. But as CNN's Alan Chernoff reports, they may be at risk of losing those homes too.
Over here's my punching bag, another stress reliever.
Angelo Villanueva, a mason who lost his last job about a year ago, is among dozens of jobless and homeless Americans who have resorted to this, trying to make a home here in the woods.
You think of a homeless person, you think of some wino out in the corner, but it can happen to anyone at any time.
Villanueva stays in shape in the gym he built as he hopes for a pickup in the economy to help him get back to work.
Oh, it's horrible, so depressing.
Marilyn Berensweig is a textile designer who worked in New York just 2 years ago. She and her husband Michael, a former public radio producer, have been living here for 16 months, victims of the jobs recession.
It's very hard for a company to decide to use a 61-year-old trainee. I'm too young for Social Security. So yeah, it's going to be a rocky flight. It's been a rocky flight.
5 years ago, Reverend Steve Brigham established what he calls Tent City, where he lives in this converted school bus. He's seen the population nearly double to 70 in the past year.
It's a community here. They've got all their needs met here.
The residents here have come up with some makeshift solutions to some of life's necessities. This portable generator is hooked up to a pump that is actually driving up groundwater to the shower here and to the washing machine. And what you see here is a hot water heater working off of a propane tank. Tent City residents recycle. The township picks up garbage once a week, but that's as much help as local government provides. Lakewood Township is suing Reverend Steve and his Tent City residents to get them off public lands.
The government has a responsibility to be sympathetic to the plight of the poor and to the homeless, and to push them out is cruel.
The township referred CNN's inquiry to its attorney, who did not return our calls and emails. As the legal battle drags on and the economy stagnates, the homeless who have created a home here maintain their hope of returning to society.
Very difficult situation. Well, that is CNN's Alan Chernoff reporting. Stay with us. There's more currents ahead. When we return, the patriotism of a priest.
It's very unique. It's not only, he's the only one in the state of Wisconsin, but there are many states that don't have a Roman Catholic priest, and we did not have one here for 15 years.
Finally tonight, are you prepared to serve your country? Well, the answer for a growing number of Catholic priests is a resounding yes, sir. This year, 31 new seminarians will join the Archdiocese for Military Services. That's up from 23 in 2010. Well, once they are ordained, they'll serve 3 years in another diocese before becoming full-fledged military chaplains. And around the anniversary of September 11th, reporter Jessica Arp took the opportunity to catch up with one of those chaplains. He's an Air Force chaplain who is getting ready to deploy.
And sing our opening song, number 889, My Country, 'Tis of Thee.
The patriotism of a parish
10 years ago, we fell to our knees.
is especially evident on the anniversary of an event that changed American life.
And so I went inside, directory, turned the TV on, and there we remember each and every moment of a very difficult, painful, unimaginable day.
The patriotism of a priest, however, St. Thomas Aquinas father Don Heyer wears more obviously, a faith now grounded in a higher calling.
Jets goes up, you're always thinking and praying for him, you know. It's like, you know, when you're a kid growing up in grade school, the nun used to say, when you hear an ambulance siren, you pray 3 Hail Marys. I've done that my whole life. And now when I'm out here and these jets go up, I always pray 3 Hail Marys.
Father Heyer brought his priesthood to the Madison base at Truax after a long journey of prayer and a suggestion years ago from his spiritual director in the seminary.
He was a retired colonel in the Army, a chaplain, 3 tours in Vietnam. And he'd always talk to me and he'd say, hey kid, you know, you need to think about being a military chaplain once you're ordained. I didn't think twice about it. I was so preoccupied with just being a priest and what that meant. But the seed was planted.
So late last fall, Heyer went first to the bishop, then to the 115th Fighter Wing, and offered to become a chaplain.
It's very unique. It's not only, he's the only one in the state of Wisconsin, but there are many states that don't have a Roman Catholic priest, and we did not have one here for 15 years.
General Joe Brandemule says some 30% of the 115th is Catholic, so Heyer's arrival has filled a void for some. But more importantly, he's there for airmen of all faiths during regular deployments.
What I like to see from our chaplains is just visibility, because they don't have to really say anything, but if they know when our airmen are getting on a plane to deploy and they know the chaplain's just walking around the hangar talking with people, if they've got a concern, they can walk up to him and talk to him.
You guys doing good?
Yes, sir.
Doing great. It's awesome. You got all your PT done?
Heyer says at the age of 46, the 3 months of training was far from easy, but says it's the ministry he gets to do now that makes it all worth it.
When you're out doing visits, it's just a great reward. They say, hey chap, or hey padre, or hey father, or hey captain. They let you into their lives because they're searching.
And what goes on out here is very real.
The sacrifice will become even more real for Hire when he's deployed to an airbase near Afghanistan at the end of the month.
I'm ready to get on a plane and go. And I don't say that as a greenhorn, because I just know that where I'm going, they need a priest.
That's a comfort to a priest who, in his own parish, has said he heard too many times stories of troops who never saw a priest once overseas. So he brings the message from the military to the masses.
The power what we receive can transform the world.
Taking the freedom and faith he teaches parishioners here.
Have a good week. God bless you.
And making sure those who protect it are cared for.
Whether I'm celebrating Mass at home or within Operation Enduring Freedom, wherever it is, it's by the grace of God.
And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with all the military chaplains and all those who serve in the military as well. Well, that is all for this edition of Currents. Join us tomorrow night as we begin our celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month in Mexico City, and then we end in Midtown Manhattan. It's a story of one man's journey of a lifetime. We'll have that and much more coming up tomorrow night. Until then, though, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great night.